Hi, Z here. This is Spiral of Time. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I have done a video. I think my last one was either in November or December. But winter season took me on a whole little journey, and I finally feel ready to actually begin sharing some of the astrology studies that I have been partaking in since during the winter season, okay? So we are currently in Aquarius season. According to the sidereal calendar, we began Aquarius season on February 13th, I believe. So even though it's technically not spring yet, I personally feel as though that the energy of spring is very present right now. And you can just begin seeing how life itself is awakening. And it's something that I feel very deeply and intuitively connected to. So I actually wanted to just come on here today, talk to you guys a little bit about spring, about what Aquarius season represents, and just what this specific time period is really meant to ground us in. You know, grounding in Aquarius, I hope you like my little play on words there. Grounding in Aquarius, you know, grounding in Aquarius. But Aquarius energy is all about an open channel. Aquarius connects us to the actual cycle, the life and death cycle. It keeps it in constant alignment. That's what the pouring out of the water, as you know, Aquarius is often represented as the water bearer in astrology. But that pouring out of water actually just represents a continuous cycle of energy that we move throughout the year. So when we enter into Aquarius season, it's important that we begin taking into account our assessment of our surroundings. Okay, so I know I didn't talk to you guys about Capricorn, but just to give you a little bit of information on what Capricorn actually stands for. Capricorn is essentially our land. So when we come into Capricorn, we come into our body. And once we have our body, we begin to analyze our body. So if you look at it outside of you, like towards the environment, you would almost be surveying the land. And that's kind of what Aquarius does. Aquarius takes account of just each of the little pieces, like the north, the east, the south, the west. Like Aquarius almost has a window into all the directions to just have a fuller picture of what is going on within the land. Because Aquarius in and of itself is a sign of vision. So Aquarius holds that subconscious picture of evolution, of advancement. It brings things and invents things and brings them into society to keep the ecosystem stabilized. It keeps things equalized. So essentially, Aquarius is almost like the equalizer. And funny enough, I actually recently rewatched that movie, like maybe a month ago or so. I was watching The Equalizer, and the fact that it kind of just pops up into my mind as I'm speaking about Aquarius is a little funny to me. But essentially, Aquarius is what keeps the body stable. So if we're looking to understand the body, to understand the land, our home, when we have our Capricorn energy, when we have figured out our position of Capricorn, because Capricorn essentially is either the gates of heaven or it is the gates of hell. So when you're walking into your body, you have this picture of your land, and your land is going to be either of those two things. So if your body is a place of heaven, then that just speaks to you walking in alignment with your purpose. Because Aquarius, again, is really all about our soul purpose. It is about purpose is the equalizer. It is the stabilizer. It is what keeps our mind and our body functioning in a cyclical order that allows for both day and night to have their shine in our life. So when you're looking to Aquarius energy, a lot of it has to do with your ability to see your purpose. So once you have your Capricorn, you have the ground of purpose in and of itself. So you don't necessarily have all of the details, you don't have everything. You just have, there's this idea in me. So Capricorn in and of itself is like the idea. The idea is the earth. The earth is our home. It is our land, it is our body, our vessel. This, our vehicle within this life, is the idea. And the idea is very much connected to our external world, which is what which is what Aquarius comes to show us, because Aquarius wants to keep that water in movement and wants to keep things cycling through. And the only way for something to truly cycle is for it to exist within and in accordance to the environment, to the external world. So it's a balance of the internal and kind of external. And if your Capricorn is in any way out of alignment, then your ability to create within the Aquarius sector, the Aquarius energy, is going to be distorted. So your creations are not going to be equalized. Your systems will not be self-balancing. They'll still be out of whack, and they'll require you to partake or intake in external things in order to keep those systems aligned, to keep them in balance. So the only example that I can quite think of right now is probably like body care. So when it comes to like our health and stuff, our health is a system that should really keep itself in function. And we should essentially just be the support to keep that system up and running well. But a lot of times when we look to that support, we are looking to add things into our daily practice to give us kind of the picture of something, instead of figuring out from the very beginning, the roots, which is Capricorn, how that system actually stabilizes itself. So I have my oracle cards here as well, just because I want to give us a little bit of wisdom into the Aquarius season and just see some of the things that we may need to focus on, some of the energies that will be calling to us. But also, in addition to the oracle message that I'm doing today, I also have an article on my website, which will be linked in the bio below, on the Aquarius season, the energy around it, and just kind of the four main components that really keep Aquarius in alignment. And I have labeled those, I call them the four pillars of mindful wellness. And I have labeled them as engineering, health, law, and finance. And it's really about the mindful functions that allow for systems to stay in order. And not only is this just about the body system, because each of those things can be applied to the body as well, as it is just it's a way of programming your conscious mind. But it also applies to the things that we bring into the world, the invention, the creation that allows for society to advance and to continue evolving without actually destroying the same lands that we have come from. So Aquarius is known as a sign of service. And a lot of times we look at Aquarius as the sign that has all these debts to pay. But Aquarius is not a sign of debt. It's not a sign of karma. That's not what the service is about at all. Aquarius as a water bearer, as I have mentioned throughout this video, is literally just about keeping the cycle alive, keeping alignment. It's about the kind of systems that we create, and creating systems that actually nurture essentially like our world. So it keeps our earth in balance without disrupting the natural functions of the earth, and also allows us as a people to live essentially in peace with the earth. And that's all Aquarius is about. Aquarius is a sign of peace. And when your Capricorn is disordered, then your Aquarius becomes a sign of war. And war happens in so many different ways. There is war over our bodies, war over our minds, war over our lands, but all of these things are directly connected to each other. So when the body is in war, the mind is in war. And when the mind is in war, the external world is in war. And that's when we start seeing chaos essentially breaking out throughout all of the world. I mean, we see it now. A lot of the practices that we have implemented into our daily lives, into society, have literally been practices that destroy our natural world. So it's like you're either going to, with Capricorn, you're either going to destroy or you're going to create. And it's all about your vision, because your vision, your eyes, your mind's eye, and I spoke of this on my other channel, Z Just Knows, your mind's eye allows you to have a perspective of something. And our perspective has to do with the kind of earth that we are living on. Excuse me. So if you were essentially living in hell on earth, then your mind is always going to take you into modes of destruction, to build things that destroy, that kill. Whereas if you are living in heaven on earth, your mind is always looking to almost gather, to bring things together, and to keep things in a natural, cyclical movement. And that's as simply as I can put it, is what Aquarius is all about. That's what the service is. The service is not necessarily to man, to the family in that kind of sense, where you have to almost serve another person, or serve someone as a king, or serve a job, or serve a system that doesn't necessarily serve you. It's about creating and inventing those systems, bringing them to the ground. So grounding in Aquarius is about what we're going to bring into the ground. Capricorn is our ground. Now that we have our grounds, we have to then begin assessing these grounds and taking account for what is in this space. It's a locational kind of work that has to be done, because Aquarius is like when I think of Aquarius, I think of it as an air sign, honestly. It works in the air, almost, as I said before, like kind of surveying the entire land. So it surveys from boundary line to boundary, east, west, north, south. I don't know why I did that way, okay? But essentially it just gives us sight into everything that is within our space, our energetic space. So speaking in terms of energy here, your energy essentially takes up space. So before you can even kind of bring in invention into the external world, you have to be able to assess your own self, your own position, and you have to make a decision from there as to how you're going to move forward, how you're going to lay your plans, what your system is going to look like, and the kind of it's just the kind of work that it's the kind of service that you have to do. That is essentially your service. So with that being said, as we're getting about 15 minutes here, I want to shuffle my oracle deck and we're going to pull a little message here for Aquarius. You know, it's very interesting. When I began studying this sign of Aquarius, I used to get so confused about Aquarius because it always made it seem as though there was like something that had to be cleared away from Aquarius. But nothing really has to be cleared within Aquarius in and of itself. That clearing happens way before Aquarius. It happens in Scorpio, where you begin that process of depolluting your mind so that when you make it to Capricorn, you have the clarity to move forward in truth. And truth is, again, it's just a cycle. It's an aligned cycle. That's all the truth is. So when you're walking in truth, you're always walking in alignment. You're walking with purpose. Your soul has purpose. And that soul purpose is what keeps you in movement. It's what keeps you alive. It keeps you aging well. It keeps your mind always working towards something real. So that way your mind is always looking to bring in life instead of it's walking into death and then being like, oh, what's happening here? You know? So it gives you that kind of clarity. And that's really part of the reason why I haven't been like on this channel, because I had my own things that I needed to clear, that I needed to depollute, things that I had taken with me that just didn't belong in my hemisphere anymore. Literally, as I'm like, a card just flew out as we're shuffling here. So let's see if we have another one. And what's very interesting about this card is it's number 2, accept your gifts. And this just really gives me soul purpose, Aquarius kind of energy. When you actually finally walk into your gifts and you choose your gifts, you are choosing life. Aquarius is meant to be that source, that pool of water that is always, it's in constant motion. It always continues. It almost reminds me of a waterfall. Because a waterfall, the water is always moving. So it's like when you come to this area of Aquarius, it's like you're coming to the waterfall, then there's the riverbed, and it's surrounded by beautiful plants and like just a very nourished kind of healthy ground. And it's like when you have that ground, when you look at that ground, what do you want to do with it? Sometimes we see something like that and we decide that we're going to destroy it. We end up destroying it instead of just really giving that beauty its own chance to thrive, okay? You know, a lot of times we end up turning ourselves into survival. And survival doesn't always have to be the case. When we can learn how to put our mind to work, to always want to create, to want to keep life, to want to keep things alive and in alignment. And that's really just what it's like. Simply put, that's what it's all about. It's nothing more than that. And 2 cards just came out of that shuffle. Basically in alignment with what I'm talking about. Okay, we have darkness and death. So death brings a new beginning. It brings life. Life brings death. Death brings life. It is the cycle. And darkness is a part of that natural cycle. Darkness has to do with negative energy that could be like swirling around you. And a lot of times during this season specifically, I'm actually going to talk about this in another video on my other channel about the King of Swords and the kind of position that you have to take during this time. So our mind will sometimes attempt to trick us into believing that the position that we have taken, that the words that we are saying, the things, our actions are correct, when in actuality, those actions are going to essentially destroy us. And I have an example from literally today. I was going to the store to go buy something I shouldn't be eating, okay? I was gonna buy some cookies. I was having like a little sweet craving, and I was like, I'm just about to enjoy my little snack. But then I got to the register and I left my card in the house, so I couldn't get my cookies. I couldn't get my cookies. I literally only had enough on me at that moment to get my essentials. And to me, that was probably a blessing in disguise, because had I eaten those cookies, I would have sat there and just destroyed them. And I would have like gone crazy on a little sugar high. When it's like, that would have brought me a certain death to my body. That would have caused disruptions on my body. So it's like, it's just about learning, even like with small things like that. And I say that because it's a pretty small thing, but essentially it kind of gives you an idea to the kind of things that will attempt to come in and to get you out of that mode of creation. And then of course there are bigger things, but I feel like the bigger things are they're always a lot easier to see. I would say they're a bit easier to see when it comes time to doing the smaller things, like those little choices that we have to make throughout the day. Because remember, every single day comes with multiple choices. And I just saw 22 on the clock. Okay, that's 4-4. That's like foundation to transformation. Okay. So there were little things that they will come in and they will try to transform our foundation into something that it's not, the foundation that we have already laid. And again, the 4 pillars of mindful wellness, engineering, which is just mathematics. And engineering is the practice of mathematics. So it's the build of anything. And mathematics is something that our mind does. And I'm not really necessarily just speaking about numbers here. I'm speaking of the operation of mathematics. So when your mind can calculate your and assess like your position, your situations and everything in a very kind of mathematical way, in that sort of like logical kind of mind, it gives yourself a system of thinking in order to always build something, to always create something, instead of like destroying something. And then the health aspect just speaks to science. It's your ability to research, to study. You know, science really is the advancement, because science is almost like it's the vision, it's the newness. It's like when you have science, you have an ability to think beyond what already exists. Like when I think of engineering is usually built off of things that kind of exist. So like you utilize engineering by recognizing like the way that certain systems within the world already work. And then you take those systems and you create something from those systems. But the principles of mathematics are always standing. So it's something that is based off of those principles. And it's just like it's a reworking of the principles in different ways. But science is a little bit different because science almost creates something new from something else. And then when you get to law, law is literally just about, it's about the balance, it's about the scale, it's about truth. So law is like the policy, the moral code that we live by internally, like essentially like, what is your Bible? What is your word? You know? And that all has to do with your purpose and how you serve. Law serves its people in that kind of way. And then you have finance, which is the accounting. It keeps things in production and it makes sure that you always have enough so that you never have to go into that kind of survival mode. So when you're able to put each of these pillars together, you can literally create an entire system for yourself that keeps you, your work, your finances, your life, your love, your family, all the things that your community, all the things that matter to you. It can keep them in balance, and it can keep them almost self-stabilizing if you learn to create self-stabilizing, self-equalizing systems, which is what Aquarius is just trying to teach us. And you know, a lot of these lessons, they come from death. They come from death because death is often just something that had to end because it wasn't necessarily perfect. And perfect isn't really the right word here, but it wasn't true. We'll use that word. Death ends when something is true. Something dies off when it cannot really sustain itself because it requires you to always have to put energy towards it instead of it almost sustaining its own energy. It needs to be sustainable. This is all about sustainable creations. How do we create sustainability in our own lives? Through our practices, through our life. And that begins with our body, which is our temple, which is our world, which is our earth. And if we can learn how to sustain our own energy, to keep it from going so up and down all the time, from you having like bursts of energy and only being able to do that thing once and then needing like a crazy amount of rest, or having to work yourself so hard that you burn out, that you can't take care of the energy in any other areas of your life. It's about learning how to find a very like neutral ground for yourself so that you always have the energy and the ability to bring creation forward, which takes time, it takes nurturing. It's like having a baby. Creation is literally like having a baby. I can't think of any other way to explain it. So that's really all I had to say on Aquarius this season. So, you know, make sure that you are grounding in your Aquarius. Y'all know that was funny. Y'all know that was funny, okay? But make sure, like, in all seriousness, that you're grounding in your Aquarius and that you are not allowing negative energy to affect you this season. Because, believe it or not, if you have seen your true ground, if you have seen your Capricorn, and you'll know what your Capricorn is, trust me, you will know if Capricorn is in heaven or hell. It is 100% apparent. And looks can be deceiving, so it goes beyond just how a person looks on the external. Okay, it's about their energy. Is that energy an energy of hell, or is that energy an energy of heaven? Hell is war, heaven is peace. Where are you at? Are you living a peaceful life within yourself? Is yourself peaceful? Is it unmoved by the craziness of the world? Is your energy stable and grounded in all of the things that have come in to disrupt you? to disrupt your channel, to stop, to kill off your waterfall? Or are you living in a war zone where everywhere you look, there is madness taking place around you, within you? When you close your eyes, there's madness. When you wake up, there's madness. There's chaos and clutter and just all these things that are pictures of the mental disturbances that are happening within our minds. So it's about, you have to actually want to see it for you to actually see it. But yeah, that's what I had to say. So I hope you guys had a good winter. I know winter was kind of a crazy one. The King of Wands was like really going crazy this winter, okay? And now we're at the King of Swords, and the King of Swords, it's decision time. It's decision time. If you want to know more about the tarot and understand the story from that perspective, check out my other channel, Z Just Knows. And you can also check out my website, zjustknows.com, where I write tons of articles and stuff on all this information. I'm actually a writer before I am anything else. So yeah, definitely check out some of my works and my other channel. And I will see you guys back here when we have another message of time. But we are in a very major shift right now. So just take account, okay? Take account of everything. And also do not feel like you have to rush anything. Stay at peace, okay, y'all? Y'all have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day. This is Spiral of Time. I am Z, your time reader, okay? And I will see you guys back here very soon. Bye.